participate via phone? Thank you,
Second.
Junior. Thank you, Jennifer. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes take it. Welcome, Kate and Linda.
Hello.
Okay, since we have been able to have members participate by telephone before, we do not have to suspend the rules today. So we will move on to approval of minutes. Could I get a motion to put the minutes on the table?
Motion.
Ms. Duncan?
So moved.
Thank you, Linda. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes? No? All those all those in favor of the approval of the minutes, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes have been approved. Next, we have informational items, and I'll just let Scott take all three of these.
Right. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You'll find in your packets the workforce report. It shows activity through the month of June. Top third of the report, as always, shows applicants and new hires as it relates to comparing 2019 versus 2020. You can see for the month of June, we had 23 positions posted last year, but only 9 positions posted this year. And of those 9 positions, we had 73 applicants. And we made 2 hires within the month of June. Keep in mind, the hire frame of that report is reflective of any new hires during that month. It could have been for a position that was posted in a prior month, not exclusively the positions that were posted in the month of June. That third of the report also shows the racial demographic of our applicants and our hires. Middle third of the page shows the current ethnicity and gender of our workforce. And then the bottom third shows employee separations, and that tracks year over year. You'll see in May we had 46 separations, and in June we had 87 separations. That's largely Headington Oaks related layoffs as we downsize the operations, and that bears out in the top department separations. You can see in June, 79 of the 87 separations were at the nursing home. Happy to answer any questions.
No other
Hi,
questions?
this is Kate. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to make a comment.
Go ahead.
You can't see it just in looking at this report for the June numbers, but when you compare the June numbers to the April numbers, you know, we've let go of quite a bit of staff in May and June, and it seems like a disproportionate number of those people who have been let go are minorities, racial minorities. It seems like the male-female split's pretty even, but I want to say that kind of concerns me that we're losing more minorities than white employees during these layoffs. And I guess I don't have a question about it, but I don't know if Scott or Shauna has a comment on why.
Just kind of as a data point for how to explain that is, if you look at the racial composition, the ethnicity composition of the team at Headington Oaks, it was substantially a minority-based employment group within the organization. And so almost all of the separations that were minorities were from Headington Oaks as a result of downsizing the operation. We've talked about and we've said in prior conversations that once the Headington Oaks operation closes, we're going to need to really work hard at diversifying our workforce because absent Headache Oaks were not necessarily reflective of the community at large.
Thanks.
There are no other questions. Scott will go on to the next report.
Sure. So that's the liability and work comp report. That's on page 6 in your packets. You can see across the top liability claims by year. As of this month, we've got a total of 6 claims filed, but only 2 of them are open and active at this point. In terms of liability costs, you can see that 2020, we've paid out a little almost $6,600 year to date. Or I should say that's probably through the end of June, and we've got a little over $2,500 in reserve remaining. Those are again liability claims. That would be lawsuits or property liability. All the work comp related claims are on the bottom half of the report. And so year to date, we have 26 work comp claims, and 6 of those are active. We're going to be talking about one of them, one of those 6 today. And then in terms of the claim costs for work comp, you can see through the end of June, we've paid out $51,600 and change, and we've got a little over $20,000 in reserve remaining. I don't recall off the top of my head how we're kind of tracking, say if we were to compare through June 30th of last year, or if we're just abundantly doing really well this year. So, but happy to try and answer any questions the committee might have.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is it possible to have a workers' comp claim while working remotely?
Great question, Member Daly. I tell you what, our work comp attorney, because we have a settlement on the agenda, is actually in the audience, and if you would like him to answer that, he has raised his hands, and he would be more than willing to do that. Mr. Kelly, if you wouldn't mind coming to a microphone, that'd be perfect. You'll probably have to flip the switch to turn it on. So for the members that don't know, our work comp attorney is Steve Kelly, and so Steve, we'll go ahead.
Sure, that's a great question. All depends on the type of injury. The short answer is possibly yes. Working remotely also includes our employees who are considered traveling employees, meaning sometimes they have to go out and travel to sites. If they get injured, certainly in the course of their employment, that could be a work-related matter. However, if someone's working at home and sustains an injury due to a risk at home, that would not be considered a work injury, such as going out in the garage, tripping over a box, doing something on their own. It's up for debate, and we're going to have a lot of issues coming to the table with with the COVID out and about now. So certainly the short answer is yes, they could have a claim, but we would examine the mechanism of injury and make a determination whether that's related to the work.
Right. So for everyone's benefit, just to summarize in case Kate and Linda weren't able to hear Steve, the answer is probably yes, it depends.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a particular injury in mind that the person has in question that they're worried about? Is there a particular...
Member Daly, were you just thinking about something in general, or do you have
requesting?
something specific in mind?
No, I don't have anything specific. I just know, I guess, situations that constituents have reported to me regarding activities of state employees that I would not think would be covered. So I don't have
Gotcha.
a specific incident in mind.
Okay.
I just think it's an interesting situation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Right. Mr. Chairman, if there aren't any other questions, I'm happy to move on to the furlough and layoff report that's on page 7 in the packet.
I have one quick question.
Okay.
On the work comps, the cost of claim by year, we have 20,000 in reserve. That does not include the 54 that is included as part of a resolution for today, correct?
Sean is going to answer that question.
Okay.
When you look at the chart, I had it, hold on just one moment. If you go to the chart at the bottom right-hand corner of the page,
Just talk louder.
okay. When you look at the chart at the bottom right-hand corner of the page, that is actually by claim year. So when you look at the reserve remaining, yes, we have $20,000 reserved for claims filed in this year, but we still have $182,000 for claims filed in 2019. And so because the claim we're going to talk about here in a bit is an older claim, it's still reserved from one of those prior years' amounts. So that 20,000 does not include that, but there is still some reserved for that claim.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on workman's comp or liabilities? Okay.
All right, layoffs, which is on page 7 of your packet. As of last Friday, we had a total of 194 layoffs. Those are both permanent and temporary. 11 employees at that point in time were physically on furlough or temp layoff. 167 of them had already been on furlough or temporary layoff at some point. 16 permanent layoffs. We've seen or realized 1,072 weeks this fiscal year in weeks saved of wages, which means the gross wage savings is a little over $1,075,000. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Does the gross wage savings, that doesn't include, or does it include the offset of our being self-pay for unemployment benefits?
So that is before unemployment liabilities would be applied to the number. I was just in a meeting this morning with Chairman Rand, and I was explaining to him that this is a source of frustration for me in that we get our unemployment liability reports from the state quarterly, and we receive the first quarter report at the very end of June, which is the end of the second quarter. And we really didn't have any COVID-related layoffs in the first quarter of this year, which means that we're not likely to see the second quarter report, which is really where a bulk of those layoffs occurred, until the end of the third quarter, which is the end of September. And by then, most of the FY21 budget will be mostly resolved or locked down, or at least hopefully. It's proven to be very difficult to accurately predict what our unemployment liability is going to be. We've made attempts to talk to Equifax to try and see what our team members have filed, because there's 3 different levels of unemployment you can file for. And that's been, quite frankly, like hitting our heads against a brick wall. We really haven't gotten anywhere there. So we may have to resort to a voluntary survey of our team members to see if they will voluntarily disclose to us what level and what type of unemployment they filed for. But again, we couldn't mandate a response to that. We could only ask for and hope that we get some voluntary responses.
Steve?
Okay, thank you.
I just was going to follow up. Where do you think we're at on furlough completion? Are we got more than 50% of the planned furloughs already done, or is there still a lot remaining?
It seemed to me that most of the furloughs are now complete or finishing up this week, especially with the extra $600 from the federal government expiring at the end of this week. Most everyone had their furlough scheduled so that they could file for unemployment and be eligible to receive that extra $600. There are some positions scattered throughout the organization that have furloughs scheduled for a substantial amount of time, 12, 16 weeks worth, and we're maybe in the middle of some of those, but there aren't a lot of those positions, but they're management positions, so they're higher wages. I'm taking I'm going to take 1 week of furlough, and then I'm going to do a day here, day there. I'm taking my week of furlough next week. So that obviously is not on the books yet, and not in my number is in an anticipated column. It'll get moved to the actual column once we update the report for next month.
Okay.
Seemed like most people were back this week, though.
Any other questions? Okay. I need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of workman's compensation case. Thank you, Junior. Could I get a second?
Second.
Jennifer? All those in favor, please state aye. Aye.
Aye.
I
Thank you. All those opposed? Okay, we'll be in executive session.
All right. Gene, turn the camera. Yeah, you try to stop the stream. Okay, let me know once that's been done, please. Awesome. Do you have a separate record? Wait until Jamie's got confirmation. Sean and Steve, if you guys don't mind, just kind of maybe, so we're still socially distant, but congregating closer so that Linda and Kate can hear you, because we are not going to use microphones. If you need to hear better, if you want to come closer, but